Carl and Liam here from Games, Brains and Head-Banging Life, gbhbl.com for sure. And it's We're Afraid of the Dark, our Are You Afraid of the Dark talk through / review. Season 2, episode 7. So we're now passing the halfway point of the season. It is The Tale of the Frozen Ghost, the 20th episode in total, written by Naomi Jansen and directed by Ron Oliver. And I tell you what, if you know Ron Oliver's work from Goosebumps, you recognize it. This has his vibes.
Yeah, I can see that totally.
This feels like a Goosebumps episode. That's why.
Yeah, it does actually.
Indeed, our cast for the episode, we have Andrew Henry as Charles, Sandra Scott as Aunt Greta, Sarah Lee Stadelman as Aunt Maylene, Michael Kaloz as the Frozen Ghost, but he's uncredited, which I thought was really, I'd love to know why.
That's interesting.
And in a superstar moment, and I mean superstar, because playing Daphne is Sabrina, Clarissa, or whatever you want to know her from. Melissa Joan Hart is in this episode. And I saw it and I thought, cool, a guest star. No, she's in this episode.
For sure, yeah. As soon as she popped up, automatically recognized her. And there's a few things in this episode that I thought were like kind of interesting because I don't know, I believe she's quite young in this episode compared to how she is in the first season of Sabrina. So I believe that this is before, so it's quite interesting. Some of the little things in the episode we'll get into as it comes along.
I think you're right. I think Clarissa explains it all, or tells her whatever that show was called, might have been the same period, but definitely Sabrina was later.
Yeah, she definitely looks way younger than the beginning first season of Sabrina. But yeah, I'm a big fan of hers because I love Sabrina. Still think it's a really, really great show. Big fan
Well,
growing up.
I'm a bigger fan these days because of two bloody reasons. One is that she still does a ton of work in a lot of those cheesy ass Lifetime TV movies, and those are hilariously fun. There is a fantastic one called Holiday in Handcuffs, where she plays opposite your man from Saved by the Bell, Slater, and she basically kidnaps her fiance. It is insane, and it is so much fun. But also, I'm a wrestling fan, and Melissa Joan Hart is not just a wrestling fan, she's a mouthy wrestling fan, and that makes me laugh.
Seen her in the audience a few times for AEW, of course.
Yeah, and as well, she's had like an online feud with Kevin Steen, that guy.
Yeah, there's also this going into more wrestling trivia from Melissa Joan Hart, but there's this the wrestler Sheamus. He does this series on his channel where he does
workouts. Warrior workouts, love it.
And she's in one of the episodes of that as well.
Oh, I haven't watched any in a while. I have to check them out. Yeah, a couple of years ago, I heard about them, started watching them, thought they were fucking fascinating.
Yeah, like I didn't think it'd be the sort of thing that would interest me, but then as soon as I started watching, I almost couldn't stop watching because it's so interesting, you know, seeing these like crazy muscular people just going mad in the gym and stuff. Yeah.
All right, couple little facts from this one. It's Kirsten's story, but also her last.
Oh, poor Kirsten.
There we go. Actually, I wrote it here. I just realized I wrote it here. See, I read my notes ahead. Yeah, Melissa Joan Hart was on. Clarissa Explains It All was happening right now. Sabrina would come later.
Yeah, because I just obviously they were both Nickelodeon shows, both of these shows. So I just wonder like, did they just bring her in from like one set to the next kind of thing? Was it, you know? I'm surprised. That's what was kind of surprising me. I don't see more actors from like the similar era of shows that were on Nickelodeon appearing in this. It's quite surprising. You'd think it'd just be easier to just. I think she's also. Yeah, there you go.
Hear that. And Michael Kaloz, who was the uncredited Frozen Ghost, would actually appear in a major role in one of Goosebumps' most famous episodes. He played Luke Morris in One Day at Horrorland, one of the two kids.
Oh, I didn't actually pick up on that one. That's interesting.
Yeah, I wouldn't have recognized them, so there we go. There we go then. It looks like the Midnight Society is off for the night as a heat wave has made the experience basically untenable. When there's a heat wave, the last thing we want to be doing is sitting around a campfire. And David suggests, hey, let's go to my uncle's swimming pool and rename the group the Heatwave Society. Everyone arrives is sweaty, but Kirsten claims it's not that hot and doesn't even really feel it as she's wearing her jacket. And she claims that her story will ensure everyone feels cold. A story guaranteed to give them all a massive case of the shivers. It's a Kirsten introduction. You've seen her shit before. She does it like where she's almost like, I'm Kirsten and I'm looking far away.
Yeah.
Submitted for the approval of Midnight Society. This is the tale of the frozen ghost. It's night, and two youngsters, a teenage girl named Daphne and a younger boy named Charles, are in the backseat of a limo. Apparently, it's the coldest winter for 100 years, and the boy is scared of catching a cold. It turns out he's a bit of a spoiled rich kid, and Daphne is his babysitter. And, right, I could buy into that, except something is said here that made me go, what? Has been for years. She is a
Hmm.
teenager, maybe
Hmm.
about 16, 17 at a push.
That
Yeah.
push, yeah. I think it's an interesting dynamic, but in my mind, I just kept forgetting that and thinking that they were just like older sister, younger brother, because you might as well have had that as part of this, because it kind of doesn't really add anything. The fact that she's, the babysitter. Yeah,
I 100% agree. I could not understand why they wrote it that way.
because they still have it as if it's some kind of sibling rivalry between them. It's exactly the same as you would expect in any of these stories when you have the older sibling and the younger one. So
100% agree. And they're being driven to Charles's aunts as his parents are away at a wedding over the weekend. I picked up on something here, right? That's becoming a reoccurring theme. And it's not in the same way Goosebumps is absent parents, but Are You Afraid of Dark often writes its parents completely completely out of it.
I
Arriving
did
at the house.
appreciate.
Go on, sorry.
So did appreciate them actually giving a reason as to where the parents are, because so often in these shows they just don't explain the parents' situation. So say they're off for a wedding, that's like an understandable reason.
Also, big up the couple who get married who said no kids. Love it.
That's I didn't even think about that, but good point.
Arriving at the house, it is isolated in the woods and seems kind of spooky. There's some concern that looks like no one is home, but Daphne insists they at least knock. Even if Charles protests a lot, he clearly doesn't want to stay here. And yes, he is a whiny little bitch.
Mm. It plays the whiny bitch quite well, I thought. So
It's relevant to the story, so I'm fine with it. Knocking on the door, it's opened by two elderly women, Aunt Greta and Aunt Maylene. They're delighted to see Charles, claiming they haven't seen him since he was a baby. And then they're introduced to Daphne, who Aunt Maylene mistakenly calls Debbie, just to show that this is not a joke. It's kind of shown early that she might have a little bit of a memory loss here and there, maybe some, those kind of issues. And that's relevant to what would come later on. However, bringing up the trope, the bad parenting trope. Cool to go away, we're going to a wedding, you can't come, and so on. Let's send you to the aunt who apparently haven't seen you since you were a baby. That is a fucking gap, right? Because the kid's about 11.
that's such a huge gap. Yeah, I didn't even pick up on that, but good point. Also, talking about smaller details, and if you're a stickler for them, as we are often are on watching episodes, um, be interesting if they had highlighted them having breath. Considering how cold the weather supposedly was, I picked up on that
Oh,
immediately. They didn't have any like breath coming out. For the fact that it'd be so cold. And that's unfortunate considering it's all about a frozen ghost, of course. But throughout the episode, there's none of that, unfortunately.
oh man, that would have actually really, really been smart. Would have been, oh, that's a shame. You're right. I didn't pick up on it, but good call.
Hmm.
The kids are ushered inside, and we see Aunt Maylene looking suspiciously out the front to immediately give us the clue that something might be going on. The inside of the house is dark, and the old women use lit candelabras. And we do get a fun scene here as the driver's basically like, yeah, I'm cool, I'm gone now. Quick out of Dodge. And Aunt Maylene comments about how no one ever seems to stick around for very long. And you're like, well, spooky shit is afoot, and either the old women are involved or they're just hiding it. It's one of the two.
Yeah, I mean they immediately they give off a like suspicious vibe straight away when she like looks out the door. Also, quickly, just got a throw in there about how we were talking about Daphne, played by Melissa Joan Hart, who is Sabrina. She makes a joke before she goes into the house about them being two witches, and that's just like I just thought it's just like weird sort of moment because like this is before Sabrina. They're going to stay with two aunts, which is literally the story of Sabrina. It's almost like did they see this, someone see this, and think, hey, that'd be a cool concept. And I don't know. But I know it's based on a comic book, isn't it? So not true.
Helga and is it Heldy? Helga?
It's Hilda and Zelda. Yeah,
And Zelda's the blonde one, right?
they're both blonde, really.
I just remember one for being Jimmy King's wife, ex-wife.
Yeah, that's Hilda. Yeah,
Ah, Hilda's Jimmy King's ex-wife.
yeah, yeah. But one other thing I've seen her in.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's for some reason that sticks in my head so much.
Funny because if you met her in real life, you'd be like, "You're Jimmy King's ex-wife."
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes,
The king. All right, Charles and Daphne are shown to their rooms, but in a case of mishearing something, Aunt Greta gets bent out of shape about ghosts, mishearing the word host, claiming we shouldn't be talking about it. This immediately makes Charles nervous, and he really isn't happy about being here. Daphne reminds him that not everyone is rich like he is, and his aunts are nice. We can't all be richy rich. Now, I should have looked it up. I didn't. I didn't. I was like, I feel like Richie Rich came later, maybe late 90s, because after Home Alone and they were really successful for Macaulay Culkin.
I might be completely wrong here. I believe Richie Rich is also based on a comic book, and I feel like it's like the same under the same banner as maybe the people that wrote Sabrina as well. I might be completely wrong there. I think they call it Archie Comics or something like that. I feel like
I
it's the
th-
same one, but
I think, you know what? I think you're right, actually. For some reason, when as soon as you said that, um, I've literally, yeah, I pictured a comic book character more
I could
than
be completely wrong, but that just sounds right in my head.
I'm literally trying. Richie Rich Comics. Richie Rich Comics debuted in 1953.
There you go. So it's an old timey character.
There we go. That's yeah, my only knowledge of Richie Rich is the Macaulay Culkin film.
Yeah.
As Daphne goes off to run Charles a bath, he claims he heard a voice outside, but Daphne points out that it's just the sound of the wind. However, while in his bath, he hears more creepy noises and the light starts to swing of its own accord before it stops as though something grabbed it. Personal thing for me, huge fan of this. It doesn't half happen enough, actually, as much as you think in ghost stories, but I'm a massive fan of something moving and then stopping. Now, you often see it in relation to rocking chairs. Evil Dead does an
Mm.
amazing one of this with the porch swing, but I'm a huge fan of just like something moving or even a rocking chair that just
Yeah.
like something stopped in it. That is creepy as fuck.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, completely agree.
Downstairs in the kitchen, it is revealed that the aunts have not paid their electric bill on time, hence the reason there is no power. Heating is a problem too, relying on a dodgy stove. And Daphne suggests, look, they asked to borrow money from, why not ask to borrow money from Charles's parents? But Aunt Greta reveals that Charles's, and this is where this episode gets complicated because it does get overtly complicated. Charles's great grandfather and their father had a falling out. And out of respect to their father, they don't dare ask for financial help.
Mm.
Now, we're going to get into more about this as it goes on, but I was like, what the fuck? Why is this overcomplicated? But then all I did was you just highlighted one of the biggest flaws in the episode. Why is
Yeah.
Charles there then?
Yeah. Exactly.
Like, there must have been a phone call and a conversation. Like,
Yeah.
where it's like, can you look after your grandchild, your nephew?
Yeah.
But we've already heard he hasn't seen since a child, so it's telling me that they've not spoken in what, a fucking decade? 10 odd years? And now they're randomly looking after him?
No. Yeah. Like, can't have that.
Mad. But this episode continues with this because we then get detail about the falling out. Occurred when Charles's great grandfather hired a man to work on the family farm. Aunt Greta, Maylene's father, was suspicious of the man, but Charles's great grandfather got his way. It turned out the farmhand was a bank robber and was caught one day. He was put on a train, being sent to prison, but the train crashed and all the passengers died. And if you're thinking, what the fuck is all this? I had to rewrite these notes so many times because I normally can write quite quickly as they're talking. I'm like, put this in, put this in, put this in. I had to stop and go, wait, whose grandfather? Whose person? What's this? Why is this a thing?
Yeah, it's definitely convoluted, but I thought I like the way that Aunt's told it, and it is. Suppose I guess if you don't think too hard about it, it's a creepy story, and I thought I did a good job of starting to build the creepy atmosphere in the episode, which was nice.
Fair enough, I'll give you that. And still in his bath, Charles continues to hear sounds, and we cut to outside to get an Evil Dead POV.
Yeah, and you mentioned obviously the stopping of the rocking chairs. Like, well, you can see what they're thinking here, man. But no, I really like that shot anyway. Of you know, yeah, the whole camera running towards the house. Sam
Yep,
Raimi on a motorbike chasing Bruce Campbell through the forest. I love that.
I love it. It's that fast-paced, moving through something as it rushes up to the window to show everyone eating in the kitchen.
but but it never happens again.
It doesn't. You are right. But yeah, I'm glad you liked it too. All the candles are blowing out, starting everyone, and Aunt Mullane claims it's a dodgy window. It's supposed to be fixed by a maintenance worker, but he wasn't being paid in time, so didn't finish the job. Um, Hammering home financial issues for the aunt. Aunt Maylene says he left because of the ghost, but Aunt Greta doesn't want to talk about it. Daphne seems excited by the prospect, but Charles is about to piss his pants, literally. That night, Charles has a nightmare where he appears to be hidden in a hole, and a man in farm-style clothes is demanding something back. He reaches in and pulls out something red, but Charles now wakes up. However, his rough night isn't over yet, as he hears a noise from outside, looks out his window to see a young boy bathed in white light, claiming that he is cold. That's too much for Charles, who wakes up Daphne in her room. It's all fine.
I was wondering if the image of the ghostly child like struck anything like memory in your mind because I do think
Nothing,
the
I'm
image,
afraid.
yeah, and I think that's quite an image that they use as like a lot of like the, if they were advertising the show or whatever, that's an image of the ghost. But yeah, because I didn't really remember this episode either, even though considering like it's got a memorable actor in it and the image of the ghost, but I don't remember anything about it otherwise.
No, same, absolutely not. I think, I mean, truth be told, it's a classic trick to make someone look more ghostly, which is you bathe them in white light, basically. Even if they're pale already, it just makes me look even more pale.
True, and also no matter what you can say about this episode, I'll always give any any episode that has Goosebumps Over the Dark props if they have the balls to kill a child. So there's that too.
Hear me now. Fair enough. However, then we get what I think is one of the most out of left field moments in the episode, and I don't get it. When he leaves his room, he does this wacky turns in a circle before then running off screen to get Daphne. Think Home Alone. You know the part where Macaulay Culkin, Kevin McAllister, is running around the house in
Yeah,
fear, and he's just like, it's basically that. And I was like, wait, is that supposed to be funny? And I didn't get it. And I was like, did they write that in because they were like, oh no, this is just too scary. We've got to do something to lighten the mood. Just do this.
there's so many weird references, like you said, that they mention Richie Rich, and like you said, the movie hadn't actually come out, but then they do that, which is a Macaulay Culkin thing from Home Alone. There's sort of Evil Dead, like definitely some Evil Dead isms in there. There's sort of Sabrina the Teenage Witch jokes about two
Hmm.
aunts and witch. Yeah, I wonder what like the writing process behind this episode.
Mad. Obviously, from Daphne's perspective, it was just a dream, and she sends him back to bed. And the next morning, they're not speaking because she's annoyed about being woken up, and he's annoyed that she doesn't believe him. Fair enough. All very sibling shit, basically.
I did think they worked well off one another. The two actors, the dynamic between them was good though.
The reason why Minister John Hart is famous is because she's good.
I mean, yeah, you can tell she is. If you didn't know her, you'd be like, oh, she probably wanted to do something.
Mm. Aunt Greta wants to know what's going on, and Daphne explains he kept her up all night because he says he saw a ghost and he's mad because she doesn't believe him. Aunt Maylene seems surprised when she hears what Daphne says, and Charles stubbornly says he saw what he saw and then it spoke to him. Big love of this. I'm so sick of people going, oh, right, I didn't really see. Oh, well, obviously it was just a dream, or oh, you don't believe me, so I'm going to forget about it. Charles is like, now, fuck you lot. I saw what I saw. I know what I saw. Get in the bin, you all pricks. I love it. All right, obviously not that
Uh,
swearing.
I completely agree. Something I'll often highlight in any like horror movie or whatever, where a character's seen something, experienced something that is, they want to explain to someone else that they've seen this thing, and they don't really go like ham about how they've seen it. That's something that always irks me as well. So I agree.
Aunt Malene, with shock and surprise, though, reveals that the ghost has never spoken to them before, and not to worry because it never comes into the house. And then, in a nice little turn as well, Malene reveals the truth that there is a ghost. But they're not going to mention it because they don't want to scare Charles. And the aunts don't know exactly who the ghost is, but explains that many years ago there was a young boy from a neighboring nearby farm. And their father told them that this boy was always sneaking around the house to find out where the mother had hidden the cookies. That one day he was found in the woodshed all curled up, almost like he was trying to stay warm, but froze to death and died. And it's, yeah, I'm like, cool. I love that you just laid that out.
I just have to quickly say something that I didn't even write down, but I just thought about it straight away. And it's another thing I always highlight in these stories when the kids go off to stay with relatives. Why the hell did you agree to have these kids come and stay here when you know you have a ghost? Why?
There's a lot of questions about why any of this is happening, to be honest. But yeah, it's the same. It's the same trope. Something weird's going on. We know, and we still invite you over.
Yeah, there's werewolves outside, monster in the forest. Sure, we'll take care of the kids for the summer. Oh my god.
Guys, if you want to see the most egregious example of that, go watch the Goosebumps episode, The Scarecrow Walks at Midnight, where living scarecrows are literally tormenting and haunting the fucking fields. And it's like, hey, come down, grandchildren. It'll be fine.
And then they act all weird about it when they start questioning it, as if like that's not happening.
All right, so story over. Daphne and Charles go outside to chop some firewood to use in the wood stove. Charles doesn't want to do it, of course, but Daphne tries to encourage him to try something different with his life, to get out and do more things. His constant complaining annoys her, and she insults him for his behavior, and he's pouty about it. They get into an argument, and she rubs mud all over his clothes to show him that it's not a big deal getting dirty. Good scene.
Yeah.
They're stopped, though, by the sound of whispering, and Charles is insistent that's the ghost and wants to go back in. Daphne's curious, though, and wants to go check it out, heading off and leaving Charles alone. Obviously scared, he didn't notice his invisible footprints appearing in the mud. Scared, he backs away, and he turns to run, he's faced with a ghost. And here, seeing it clearly, I think they did a good job of making it look like his skin was frozen, and just that little, I'm cold kind of thing, it works.
Yeah, I do think it was an interesting choice to have the ghost appear in the daytime. That's kind of unexpected, you know. Whether or not that works, it's up to your opinion, I suppose.
It is, and greed. Terrified Charles tries to run screaming, but wherever he runs, the ghost is waiting and complaining of being cold. His nightmare then gets worse when he falls face first in a big mud puddle. But it's Daphne that finds him here, and he desperately explains about the ghost, but in a surprising turn again, because obviously he's going to be like, it was the ghost, and she's going to go, there's no ghost around, stop being silly. Nope, the ghost is just there, and Daphne sees her. And I was like, oh, okay, not where I was expecting it to go. The ghost complains of being cold again before pointing to a log. Charles recognizes it from his dream, and he realizes that the ghost had been in the log and the train robber had tried to grab him. Okay, sure. You just jumped to that mad conclusion, but yeah, why not?
Got it all figured out.
Yeah, and looking inside, he finds an old red jacket and an antique key falls out. Charles gives the red jacket to the ghost, and the ghost puts it on, transforming into a normal, healthy-looking boy, and then vanishes. And I was like, oh, all right, so literally he was cold. That ain't that interesting of a resolution for the ghost, if I'm honest.
Sounded better on paper.
Also, wait, so why in Charles's dream did we see the train robber getting the cup? Like the train robber pulled the jacket off him. What, he put it back?
Yeah, that's a good point.
Anyway, we're not quite done yet. As Daphne picks up the key and back at the house, they show the aunts. Aunt Greta isn't sure what it is, but Aunt Maylene reveals that it's the latch for the stovepipe. And now they can open the flue trap and it will work properly. Now, I'm going to tell you what's wrong with this in a moment. Because when she uses it, a crashing sound is heard inside. And when Charles opens the door, a flood of gold coins fall out. And obviously, this is where the train robber had stolen and the money he'd stolen and then hidden. Daphne telling Aunt Greta and Aunt Maylene that their money troubles are now all over. Right, let us break down this short scene because it's fucking nonsense and didn't need to be in there. Should have ended it after the ghost, and that was it. Who cared about this key? You telling me this ghost story was supposed to have happened many, many years ago? No one has ever tried to fix that stove. No one has ever looked into it. The aunts, when they were younger, have their father, other family members, whoever, have never tried to fix this and discovered a fucking gold. Called someone out who's gone, oh yeah, there's something jammed up there. Behave yourself. That is dumb.
You said it.
Then we have the fact that apparently the money troubles are over. They ain't getting to keep this money. Are you shitting me? This is money stolen from a bank. Where are they going to take it? What are they going to do with it?
Yeah, I mean, it's not even money, is it? It looks like solid gold.
Yeah, it's not currency. You're going to have to find a way. Or, okay, so bring it to a dodgy goddamn pawn shop or whatever. But even they're unlikely to take it, or lots of it, or give you money for it.
Yeah, I mean, you could melt it down and, sell it, like you said, but it would be like dodgy.
Yeah. What are you going to do? Walk in the back and go, oh, yeah, can I just exchange this currency?
Yeah, I don't think they would accept that tender.
In fact, I'm going to go out on a limb and say that they could be prosecuted for it. because this money was stolen a long, long time ago, and you've now got it. What do you mean this ghost and train robber and we found this,
Exactly.
what?
And they'd have to prove that they weren't aware of its location the entire time.
But that is, we're being nitpicky, but the ending shit. It's as simple as that.
Mm.
Especially as back at the campfire, everyone is impressed. And I'm just like, stop doing that. When you're telling an average story, stop going to the faces going,
That's
that
my
was
biggest pet
good.
peeve. Like rewatching the show is nobody ever criticizing the stories or having anything be like, I didn't really like that one. That just be realistic. I know they're never going to do that because if one of the characters highlighted that they didn't like it, then it's like saying it was a bad episode for like the audience watching it. But it's silly.
But in a thing that I think sums this episode's messiness overall, at least the messy ending, is you get this bit where everyone around the Midnight Society adds a line to explain it. The kid saw the robber hiding the gold, hid from him, and then died. And I'm like, wait, so like you felt like you had to do that to explain it because we'd be sitting there scratching our heads, except you then leave out one of the most important things. How did the kid get the key?
Mm. Yeah, I mean, I have no clue. They don't explain that.
No matter though, everyone gets the chills. They're all cold now, and the meeting is over. And an episode that was doing perfectly fine was not particularly good or bad. Was just sort of motoring along. I think turned shit by just having a really bad ending.
I agree. I think the ending is what ultimately really lets this one down. I thought it was a really lame way to conclude it. I get the sentiment of the whole they're trying to tell like this nice story, but it's like I'm not a big fan of the good ghost in trope in anything. I really can't stand it personally. It instantly makes any story not scary at all, and I think that's what happens here. The ghost, if you're a good ghost, you're capable of pointing to the thing that could free you from being a ghost. Do that sooner. Stop being super cryptic and creepy. Like, why are you doing that? And I thought also, even though we did highlight the acting as being quite strong in this, their reactions to dealing with a literal ghost, I thought were really underwhelming. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I thought the episode up to that point was succeeding in a lot of ways that you'd want it to, but then it just the scariness and just the confusion with a lot of the story details just fall flat. But I guess maybe for a younger audience, it could serve well as like a nice sort of classic ghost story. That I guess it works as a campfire ghost story a little bit in that way. But it's just yeah, it's just not very memorable, and because of how it kind of ends, that just makes rewatching it not really worth it in my opinion.
Watch it and then switch it off when they give the ghost a coat. It ain't any better of an ending, but at least it feels more like an ending.
It's almost like they thought that wasn't enough, that wasn't
Mm.
good enough, or so they were just like, let's tack something else on, kind of thing.
There it is. Not impressed for either of us. It is episode 7, The Tale of the Frozen Ghost. You got any thoughts? You know what to do? Let us know in the comments. Thank you very much for watching. If you'd like to see more content like this, please consider hitting the subscribe button. It is gratefully appreciated. You can find us over at gbhbl.com, our full website where reviews, news and so much more goes up daily. We're also on all social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Threads, at GBHBL. Just search for GBHBL and you will find us out there. We also have merchandise on sale. You can access the shop via the website.